I worked really hard, I cried a lot, and I still can't speak French. Now I'm done with this major goal, but I kind of feel like I just ran a marathon and I crossed the finish line, but now I'm collapsed on the ground. Don't ask me how I did it. I just did it. It was hard. So I am very happy to announce that I am officially done with my bachelor's degree at the ripe age of 27. So 9 years later, 153 credits later, 2 transfers later, 1 community college, 1 university, and 1 college later, and I am officially done. So I have some feelings about it. When I was 17 and I was about to go to college, I thought that I was going to be finished early. I thought I was going to be finished at 21 because I had already started taking community college classes as a senior in high school, and I was going to a school that ran on a quarter system. So instead of 2 semesters a year, you had 4 quarters over 3 years. So not really like a long summer vacation. And because of that, you'd finish 1 year early. So I thought, I'm gonna finish school at 21. I'm gonna work for a couple of years and pay off my student loans. That's a whole other discussion. I thought that I was gonna be making enough money to pay off my student loans in 2.5 to 3 years. Yeah. So, and then I thought I was going to go to, blah, blah, blah. Words are hard. Going to go to grad school and finish that by like 27 or 28. So, yeah, I'm a little behind my trajectory or plan that I had when I was 17, obviously. So what happened? What was the journey to get me to here? And also, I'm sorry, I keep touching my hair. That's a little poof situation that is bothering me. I'm filming this at night. I've been working. I just came back from work a little bit, and the girl is a little busted, but I'm trying to show up and be here. So here we are, poof and all. So what happened? Am I happy about it? How do I feel about it? I would say I am glad I did not finish my degree at the first school I was going to. The first university I was at was a religious university. And the first degree, my original major, was something that was a combination of 3 different things. And it was kind of like a proprietary major. That school is the only one that had it. So 1 prong of the degree was cinematography. 1 prong was humanities, so like philosophy, theology, that kind of stuff, and literature. And the 3rd prong was business classes. So basically, this degree was to set you up to work in the Catholic Church. And I'm not religious anymore, so I am very glad I didn't get a degree that would be only recognized by religious institutions when I am not religious anymore, obviously. And I couldn't really use anywhere else. So that's that. And then when I was still at that school, I switched from that degree to just a pure humanities. Also, I'm gonna move this down a little bit. Also, I'm just noticing I'm giving a little bit Rudolph nose here. It's so cold here, and I've been like blowing my nose all the time. That's gross, but yeah. So it's very cold. It's supposed to snow tonight. So I have a little Rudolph situation. Oh well. Yeah, so I switched to a humanities degree, and then I ended up dropping out. And I'd say the main reason I dropped out was because of money. I just couldn't afford to go to school anymore. And I was paying for college myself, and my parents would not sign my FAFSA, so I could not even, after the first year, I could not even get any federal loans or grants or anything, and that really effed me up financially for about 5 years. Effed me up financially, effed me up with my education, and I was not able to go back to school until I was 24, and the government recognized me as an adult, even though I was financially independent from my parents by around like 18 and a half onwards. The government still classified me as a dependent for financial aid stuff. So my finances got jacked up in my late teens, early 20s, and my degree trajectory. That was the main reason I had to leave, although I also started to not really be happy there, and they ended up closing down the humanities degree like right after I left, so it was a good thing that I left. And then for the next 5 years, I worked a bunch of random jobs like retail and admin assistant, admin specialist jobs, and it was always super tight. It was always very, very difficult to make ends meet, basically, because when I was like 20 years old, I was living with my sister, and if I was not living with her, I don't know what I would have done, honestly. That would have been bad. So when I was working with her, I worked a retail job. I made, I think, between $8 and $9 an hour. It was 8 and some change, which obviously you cannot live on. And then she helped me get my first office job, which paid $15 an hour. And this was in 2019. And I actually moved into my own apartment on that, which is actually amazing in retrospect, looking back on how I lived and had a 2-bedroom apartment and a car and paid my bills on $15 an hour. That was kind of crazy. And then from there, I worked another admin job that was a little bit more, but still under 20 an hour. Delivered pizzas on the side. It was crazy. It was really, really tight. And then as soon as I turned 24 and I was now an independent and I could file my own FAFSA, I did so, and I went back to school. And I went to UVA-Wise, which is where my degree is from. Oh, and also, let me show it to you. I don't have that printout of it yet, but I have like the online, you can see. Super exciting. It's probably gonna be reversed here, and you can see my ring light, but anyways, you can see our Tommy Jeff at the top. So there you go. Yeah, so in the interim, I realized when I was maybe 22, 23, I had taken a break from music from around 18 until then. So almost 5 years of break from music. And I had been really much involved with music and theater, performing arts when I was in high school, and took piano lessons when I was a kid, you know, the whole gamut. But I had put it kind of to the side, and I realized in that break from school and that break from music too, that I really couldn't keep going without music as a part of my life in some capacity, even if just as a hobby. So when I went back to school, I knew I needed a bachelor's degree. I was applying for different office jobs that were kind of a step above where I was at, and I had the requisite experience, and I knew how to use the software that they wanted you to use, because there's certain, you know, industry specific softwares. I was already trained on them, all this stuff. The only thing I didn't have was a bachelor's, and so I was getting rejections because of that. So whoever is here saying that having a degree does not matter, that has not been the case for my life at all. There have definitely been opportunities that I have not been able to get because I didn't have a degree. I remember one job, a recruiter even like scouted me for the job, and then I talked to the hiring manager, and then they told me I wasn't qualified. And I knew it was because of the degree, because every single category of this many years to this many years of customer service, this many years to this many years of this software, all of the things checked boxes. The only thing I didn't have that they wanted was a bachelor's degree. So that really held me back. So I knew no matter what I did, I needed a bachelor's degree, literally anything, just to make it through the I forget what it's called, ATS software, I think it is. Basically, when you're applying to things online and there's a box if you have a degree or if you don't have a degree, and if you check you don't have a degree, your resume and application does not even get shown, doesn't even get seen. It's just poof. So I knew that, and I also knew I wanted to get back into songwriting. And so I decided to get a music degree because if all else failed, at least I had my piece of paper, and I also wanted to study something that I actually wanted to do. And there were a lot of things with my songwriting where I was tapping my ceiling, meaning I could write music, but my music theory really needed to be beefed up to be able to go to the next level and not just write basic music. I knew I could write a good hook. I knew I could write catchy stuff, but I needed to beef up my skills and beef up my singing skills also a lot. So that's what I did. So I went back to school in fall of 2022, and I finished in, I want to say June of this year. And now I'm in this weird limbo, this weird liminal space where I've completed this major goal in my life, but it hasn't fully sunk in yet. And I think part of this is also because I finished in the summer, and I did 2 years on campus, and I did 1 year of online classes off campus. And so, and I didn't do any graduation ceremony. I didn't walk in a ceremony. And so because there hasn't been like a ritualistic ending, and I hadn't been on campus for the last year, it doesn't really feel like it's ended. I mean, now it does, but from June to maybe October, it still kind of felt like I was just on a break. And at some point I was going to go back into classes. So it's really weird. It's really weird. The good thing is, I think I was so tired of working and being in school and never having things be completed. Like at the end of the day, if I was done with all those assignments and I was done with work, I still had assignments due the next day or 2 days or a week from now, whatever. All of these rolling deadlines, so I never really felt like I could just end my work. It was just done, just completed. And that really took a toll on me mentally, to just kind of never be able to fully relax because there were always tasks to do. I think that it's been a really difficult transitional period for me because I got really burned out. I got really burned out in my last year and specifically my last semester, a semester and a half, I'd say. Like, I would say November 2024 through May 2025 was just so stressful. And now I'm done with this major goal, but I kind of feel like I just ran a marathon and I crossed the finish line, but now I'm collapsed on the ground. So every month that has passed from, let's say, June until now, I feel a little bit better each month, but still not fully back. I thought I would bounce back to my normal, and I haven't. And there were a lot of things that I neglected in the last year of school. My fitness, my health, for sure, my diet. I had blood work done a couple weeks ago for my annual physical, and I had high cholesterol for the first time in my life. And I'm thinking to myself, I am too young for high cholesterol. But like my diet has been terrible. I was not cooking as much. I was just eating like processed foods. Um, and so it's not really a surprise. The health, the fitness, uh, the socializing, dating, um, so many things. And it's been really, really difficult to get out of that burnout. And it's kind of funny because you get a degree so that you can do all these things, but the degree, sometimes the process can be so intense that then you almost like don't even want to do anything after you achieve the goal. It's like, okay, now I have this thing, now I can take off running, but now I'm just like, ugh, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at. As I've said, whew, can't talk today. As I have said, I'm struggling. Also, my poor little reindeer nose is struggling too, but it's okay. As I've said, every month I am feeling a little bit better. I definitely would not say I feel back to normal. So what am I doing with my degree? Well, I'm glad you asked. I am teaching as my full-time gig for two different companies. One is more of a traditional music studio, and the other one is a school of rock. And so I've been doing that, and I'm also, of course, working on my own voice and my own music, which is very exciting to now have more time to work on those things. So I'm doing that, and for the future, honestly, I feel nervous. I was telling someone recently, I feel like a sense of anxiety and fear about 2026. And I've not felt this way since the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. Remember, 2022 is the year I went back to school. So I feel this sense of fear and almost dread of what's going to happen in 2026. And I had also expressed that if I knew how difficult school was going to be and how just it was just going to utterly gut me, I don't think that I would have gone through with it if I knew then. And I told this person, and then they said to me, well, is it actually because of the school, or is it everything else that happened during that time? And I did think about it and reflect on it, and I had to come to the conclusion that it really was not fully about the academics or the schedule, which can be really brutal, by the way, especially for music majors. I want to point out, if you're not familiar with that life, it's not like other majors where you have classes from 8 in the morning to maybe 3 in the afternoon, maybe 4. I'd have classes as early as 8, and I'd have rehearsals that would end later than 10:30 at night sometimes. So you don't really have a bookend of your day. You might be going for a huge amount of time. Yes, you have little gaps in between, but you could have an 8 a.m. to a 9, then a 9:15 to a 10:45, and then you have a choir rehearsal at 12:30 to 2, and then you have a little gap, and then you have a meeting, and then you end with a rehearsal from 7 to 10:30, so the days are really long. Weekends, tons of weekends are spent in performances and all that stuff, and of course that's what you're signing up for. Of course that's why you're there, but it's an intense schedule. And especially my degree, which is, it's not a conservatory degree, it's a BA. So it's a mix of academic classes and all of these rehearsals and lessons and all that good stuff. So I realized it's not really the academics or the pacing of it that burned me out. It was very exhausting, but that didn't burn me out. It was all the interpersonal stuff that happened in my life during that time that really pushed me over the edge, which could have happened if I was in school or not in school. But that combined with the school was just like, I was in a very bad relationship. That added a lot of stress. I had certain other things like in my family that was really stressful. I had multiple, like numerous friends go through their own life crises, and some of them I got too involved and overfunctioned for them and burned myself out in like caretaking for sure, which is my own fault at that point. But yeah, all of these other things that have nothing to do with actually like picking up a book and reading it or going to a rehearsal or whatever made more of a difference. So now I'm at this point where I'm glad I achieved the goal. I'm glad I'm done with it, but I also kind of feel like I've just been through a war, and the war is done, but the damage has been done. The village is burned down, and now we have to rebuild the village from scratch. So yeah, that's kind of how things are. So I think I'm gonna call this video post-grad blues, because I did not expect this transitional time afterwards to feel like this. I thought it was going to be a really smooth, easy, seamless transition, which has really never been the case in my life. I don't know why I expected that. I realized a few years ago, I got my astrology chart done, and there's a placement that I found really interesting, which is Chiron in Scorpio, which basically that placement, the Chiron is the wounded healer. So the area of your life that you have a lot of trouble with, and then eventually if you're able to work through that, then you can help other people in that area. So my Chiron is in Scorpio, which governs sex, death, and change and transitions. So many transitions in my life, moves, going from one job to another, going to college, like leaving college. So many transitions have been the most crazy, stressful, rough, chaotic times, to the point where now if I have a life transition, I'm kind of prepared for shit to hit the fan. So I don't know how much credence I really give to astrology, but that placement specifically, when I found that out, I was like, ooh, yeah, that's right on the money. So anyways, I thought this transition was going to be super easy and smooth and seamless, and it has not been the case. And I don't think anybody talks about that, because you think I'm going to graduate and then I'm going to get a job, and then I'm going to work that job, I'm going to live happily ever after, and I'm going to ride off into the sunset and everything will be beautiful, and that's that. But c'est la vie, or as my mom insists I say, c'est la vie, because my French is bad and my vowels are bad, even though I took 2 semesters of French in college and cried over it, which, if that's not a good analogy for my time in school, I don't know what it is. I worked really hard, I cried a lot, and I still can't speak French.